Rev up your engines!
Well, the other day, Ford and GM stock tumbled. You know why it tumbled? Because it was on reports of a supposed crackdown on Chinese imports. Now, you might think, hey, GM and Ford stock would go up if they're going to put a tariff on Chinese cars coming over. But realize Ford and GM make cars in China, such as GM Buick SUVs made in China, sold over here. And if they're going to crack down on the stuff made there and coming over here, they're all worried, oh, you're going to crack down on the vehicles that we're selling that we're making in China and sneaking them in under GM and Ford banters, right? And of course, a lot of their parts come from China. If you want to laugh, the other day a guy brought me a brand new F-150. He wanted to show it off, so I looked at the sticker, and the sticker showed you where the parts came from. And it would say parts from North America, like 42%, parts from Asia, so much percent, and they even had an other. The parts come from all over the place. And if they start putting a giant tariff on the Chinese stuff, guess what? Then the price of the Ford and GM cars will have to go up because they're paying more. Especially like if you bought one of those Buick SUVs that's made in China. If they're talking about double a tariff on a Chinese-made vehicle, that's going to hit GM in a wallet because they haven't been paying any excise taxes on them. They're made in China and sold over here. Kind of a little hidden blanket there. Well, this news that they're going to really get strict on those tariffs, hey, it made their stock go down because everybody who knows the business knows they got a bunch of Chinese-made parts or entirely made cars that they're selling over here. Here's a hilarious one. There's a company in California that restores Porsches. Well, they're now being accused of not honoring their contracts, and they face millions in lawsuits. They did things like they're supposed to sell cars under a contract with people. They take 10% of them, but then they never paid the people. Some people bought vehicles, and they never got them. No surprise that it's with Porsches, high-end cars, right? But anyone, I don't care if you're rich, poor, whatever, you're an idiot if you pay for anything up front, or you give money before you have that thing there and it's in your hands and you're driving it away, right? You're a fool. Now, this is in San Diego, and the company's being sued for millions of dollars of work it didn't do and cars it didn't deliver. It was called CPR Classic in Fallbrook, California. Now, they claim that for 40 years they had a really good reputation. Who knows? Nobody knows. Ages ago, and they'd have Twitter and all that stuff, right? So they get away with stuff and nobody knew about it. And they really don't care. Okay, this guy, Hans Clausen, said he was selling his 1970 Porsche on consignment for $135,000 because his wife had dementia and he needed money. They said they'd sell it for a 10% commission, but then they had all kinds of problems. They said somebody bought it, but then they backed out of the deal. Then Clausen got help from a local senior lawyer program, and then they sent him $10,000 as part of a monthly payment plan. He got a single payment, and then the guy didn't pay anymore. And they have numerous lawsuits against them. So now this company, CPR, what is that? CPR, right? Resuscitate? Wow, you want to deal with a company that's called CPR? You're going to need resuscitation after you deal with them, right? CPR is accused of owing its clients $11,745,106. You know, I say you got to have common sense. You need to have things written down. You need to have them done. You don't pay people up front. And you don't pay for something that you don't get your hands on. Sellers claim they never got the money that was owed to them. Buyers claiming they paid for it but didn't even get the vehicles. One customer said they brought in their 1960 Porsche 356 Roadster for restoration, but then the company CPR sold the car to somebody else for $160,000. They said they didn't have a right to, and the customer didn't even get the car or their money back. Just hilarious, you know? I mean, these people with their collector Porsches, I really don't feel sorry for them because you got to be stupid to trust somebody with something like that, right? And that kind of stuff. Oh, I've got my classic 60s Porsche. I'm going to get it restored. Hey, if you don't want to restore it yourself, be prepared to pay through the nose probably the rest of your life to restore the stupid thing. Now, people reach out to him. NBC did. He said he was going to have an interview, but then he decided not to be interviewed. So, hey, what's the moral of the story? One, you're a fool if you buy a Porsche, any way you look at it, right? And two, don't trust people with your money or your car unless that money is in your hand if you're selling the car, or you buy the car and it's there and you drive it away. Don't get some promise that, well, you'll get it in a month or so. No. You're a fool to deal with something like that. What do they say? A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Well, these guys are all stuck out in the bush now. Well, there's more competition now in the electric battery truck business. No one knows how long these companies will exist, but there's a company called Bollinger. They have the Bollinger B4 medium-duty EV truck. Okay, it's a cab over and it's got a little bed on it. It's not a big 18-wheeler. That costs a whole bunch of money. They say the 2025 B4 has a manufacturer-suggested retail price of $158,758, and it has a whopping 185-mile range. It's got 2 battery packs in it, right? Now, they say it has 185 miles. We all know how it goes with electric vehicles. I'm sure that if this thing is fully loaded and is on the highway, it probably has a range of 80 miles or 90 miles. But even at 185 miles, what a useless electric truck. Battery electric larger trucks are stupid. Even the pickup trucks are stupid. People aren't buying them. They're finding out they don't have much range. They don't do what we want. They cost way too much money. There's no infrastructure for them. Now, this is why I have to agree. A much better approach is what Walmart's doing in Canada, that they're trying out hydrogen fuel cell big electric trucks because they don't have the big heavy batteries, so you don't have to recharge them. Now, you got to have an infrastructure of hydrogen and all that stuff, but it's Walmart. They can create their own infrastructure around their stores, right? And they can fill them up, and if those work, great. Maybe one day, instead of these big diesel trucks, 18-wheelers going down the interstate, there'll be electric ones driven by hydrogen fuel cells, right? But batteries and electric motors on giant vehicles just don't work. They don't last long, and heaven forbid they start on fire like that Tesla big truck did out in the desert going from California, driving around. It started on fire, right? That's not the problem that fuel cells have, because they don't have big, giant lithium-ion batteries that overheat and start on fire. They use fuel cells. They've had fuel cells forever. They've used them in NASA for a really long time. They use them for different reasons, so people can get drinking water out of them, stuff like that. The astronauts going around, and they're smaller power plants, of course. The idea that there's another company out there making a medium-sized battery electric truck called Bollinger. Okay, here's my forecast. See if I'm right or not. I forecast that they go bankrupt within the next 4 years. Unless the government keeps subsidizing it, right? Now, scientists now say that they want every airline flight to take about an hour longer because slower speeds are better for the planet. Of course, the lower speed a vehicle goes, the better gas mileage you get. Just like Sammy Hagar's old song, I Can't Drive 55, right? When they made the speed limit 55, well, people got so mad they raised it back up again. Yes, cars do get better gas mileage at 55 miles an hour, but not that much better. To give an example, if they wanted to slow the flight speed by 15%, so it'll take about an average hour to get somewhere where you're going, that would reduce their contribution to pollution from burning the fuel in the jets by a whopping 4%. Okay, they're still polluting 96% as they would. A little 4%, they spit in the bucket. People are getting into these beliefs that, oh, look, we can, hey, you know what's even better? Don't fly at all and you'll save all kinds of fuel, right? But people want to get from here to there. Do they want to spend another hour in the stinking airplane? Hey, as soon as you get in that plane, it takes off. You can't wait till it lands, right? You want to spend another hour up in the air to save 4%. Ooh, that whopping 4% is really going to make a difference, right? Oh, you're going to save 4% versus the reality, you're still throwing 96% of it out. And then everybody's got to ride around the plane for another hour, which nobody can stand anyway. You're already usually waiting a few hours at the airport because ever since COVID and they have less flights to less areas, things are getting jammed up. They're having problems. They're charging more for their tickets. Well, just what you want. Now they'll go slower. That means they get better gas mileage, right? Does that mean they're going to knock 4% off the price of the tickets? Probably not, right? Now, this was an idea by British scientists in England, so maybe the Brits will slow down, but I can't see the Americans slowing down anytime soon in their jets to save 4% of the pollution that comes out of these things. SF Lemmy 93 says, my 2021 Nissan Rogue hit a curb at a low speed. My girlfriend did it. And now I have lights on. The steering's crooked. Any clue what may need to be replaced? It drives. Okay. The lights came on because now your sensor's broken on that right side. You've got anti-lock brake sensors, okay, that's been broken, and you say the steering wheel's crooked because things are bent. Now, a lot of damage can be done, but that's a Nissan Rogue. The lower control arm, tires bolted on this end, this bolts to the frame, the lower control arm is on the very bottom. And when you hit a curb with the bottom of the tire, and what it does is it bends the lower control arm. So I can bet dollars to donuts that she bent the lower control arm, and that's going to need to be replaced, and either broke the wire to the ABS sensor or the ABS sensor's been damaged. Now, she said she hit it at a low speed. Maybe it was a lot faster than what she's claiming, because it could also have destroyed the wheel bearing, it could break ball joints, tie rods, lots of damage could be done. Take it to a front end shop first and see what they say. And really, you might want to put an insurance claim on this one, because the last time I had somebody hit a curb like that and it had bent stuff, that was like a $2,500 bill. So you might want to see if your insurance is going to cover it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.